Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's a little bit slow today, but here we are and we are going live. So I'm going to connect everything, and I have Joel Stewart, who is the owner of Optimal Health Solution. So it's OHS, and he is a fitness and nutrition person. And I thought if I get him here, then some of the things that I have said to you before, we can then incorporate and go more into that to get it from an expert way. So today in our stream today, we are going to be talking about reclaiming your power and strength, because when we do that, we build more confidence. So it gives us ways of coping, healthy ways of coping after breast cancer and domestic abuse. Now, these are the topics that I chose because this is my expertise. This is where I have everything in terms of wellness. And so I thought doing these live shows for you and giving you the information that you need if you're somebody going through that experience, or if if there is somebody you know and you want to pass it on to, then you can do that as well. The other thing as well, I created this so that we can have a community. I believe in community, and I think when we have a community, then that could be a shoulder to lean on for anyone. So I want to welcome you to the live stream today. And if this is your first time joining me on a live stream, my name is Verna, and I am the host of the Unstoppable Live Show with Verna Hayward. So this is to give you information. This is to bring people together and let us talk about issues that are happening presently that we can then go on to live a better and healthier life. So coping healthily, finding healthy coping mechanisms to help us when we are going through breast cancer or coming out on the other side, and also domestic abuse. So it's mixing the three. The breast cancer, the domestic, and the nutrition, because we need the nutrition in all of that to really help us to build a better life and to recover and have that the body having the nutrients that is need. So it is an incredible journey that we're going to take you on today, and we're going to be talking about the healing of the mind, nurturing the body, and revitalizing the spirit. So we'll try and get you this as soon so we don't take too much of your time. So as I said, I have Joel, and now I'm going to bring Joel into the audience so that you can get to meet him and he can tell you who he is. So one of the other thing, again, I just want to say thank you to those of you who are here with us on Facebook, those of you who are on Instagram, and those of you who are on YouTube. So I want to thank you for your company, and you mean a lot to me. So everything you do is all to give you more understanding and more information and awareness. So Joel, just you take over and you explain.
Thank you so much, Verna, for inviting me. And I mean, you're doing a great thing, I have to say, and putting yourself out there. This 30-day challenge is quite a thing. Every single day for 30 days is incredible. So, kudos to you. I'm really pleased to be on this platform, and my background is from an educational sort of side, actually, because as a trained sort of teacher in physical education and English, that's what I sort of trained as. But my passion really is health and well-being, generally speaking, and I've got lots to share with you, and I would love to have done like a physical sort of demonstration or even a video of that to actually show you. Who knows? We may even do a part two, but anyway. Let me also say that I don't believe in illness. I believe in wellness, and that is a particular mindset. That is, and I don't do it say it sort of flippantly or to be clever or whatever. I've always had this from my late teens, that particular mindset, and always to have a positive mindset as part, an attitude as part of how I go about life. And so that infuses and that nurtures and feeds me. We're going to talk about nutrition as well, for sure. But yeah, so that's me in terms of an introduction, Verna.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's inspire us, isn't it? It's inspire us, and it helps to build that resilience and the strength we need. Because when we incorporate it all and we think more positively, because it's the negative just take you down a dark road and can't seem to get out of it. But when you start training yourself to think more positively, and the fact is as well, you have to think as though you have it. You know, it's something we have to practice because it's about building that resilience. So we have to practice it. So how do you? I know you did sports and you was a runner and everything like
Right.
that. Just as you had to build those muscles as a runner, as an athlete, how would you say incorporating that kind of a methodology into the way that we think and our emotions and everything with our health and our wellness when we experience trauma, whether it is breast cancer or domestic abuse, whatever it is? How do you think we can incorporate that into healing our mind?
Okay. I mean, that's so broad, but it's also so rich in terms of where we could sort of go. And I mean, I ran for England in my late teens, and as an athlete, you develop certain things in terms of how you see things, and what you say to yourself, how you talk to yourself is really, really important as sort of part of that. And sometimes you have setbacks. I've had loads and loads of injuries throughout my sort of career, and coming out of that, let me just tell a quick story. I also worked, one of my earliest experiences in social work as a sort of residential social worker. I worked in a therapeutic adolescent center, and our only tool to, in fact, if you like, control or have a relationship with the children was talking. You know, cognitive behavior therapy is really powerful in terms of changing your mind. And these children, they were children, adolescents, teenagers, they were there. And our job as workers, educators, social workers, was to wean them off some really heavy duty drugs, behavioral modification drugs. I'm talking late 70s, early 80s when I started my career. And I thought, I mean, this is crazy. This is really ridiculous. And these children, if you like, were traumatized. And so you can be traumatized by an injury. You can be traumatized by a serious, if you like, surgery that you've had to undergo or you've tried to overcome. It's very, very similar in terms of how you approach from a mental sort of point of view. We're not talking about the physical just yet, but from an attitude point of view and the ability to sort of talk. I learned so much in that year I spent in that particular unit in Northwest London. When I left, I could, oh my goodness me, my confidence level was just off the scale. I could handle almost any sort of situation as a consequence of that experience, and if you like, that sort of training, going through all that, working with the children directly, but also you had to work on yourself as well and be incredibly honest and open as part of that sort of process. And it may seem ridiculous. Can you imagine having between 10, on average, 10 to 12 meetings or throughout the day where we're just talking? And that is part of how we actually operated. Crazy when I think about it, but that's what we did. That's what we did. And having these positive affirmations, very, very crucial as part of that. And not seeing yourself as a victim as well.
That's it.
Very important. You've got to throw off that. And literally, switch and go the opposite as all part of that. And
Mhm.
clearly, this may sound a bit ridiculous as well. I mean, I used to do back in the day random acts of kindness. All right. I know that when you are kind, when you're giving, totally you're receiving as well. And you're nurturing yourself, mentally, emotionally as part of that. So that's another tip I would suggest.
Yeah, it is. It's so good to start, with that self-talk.
Mm,
Self-talk is such an important thing, and I often say is seed, isn't it? When you're speaking to yourself and you're speaking words
mm,
as seeds, you're planting seeds. It's like a farmer. The farmer
mm,
plant his seed, and he need to know what type of fruit he's going to put in the soil, because
mm.
not all soil, if you notice, not all farmers farm the same thing, because there are
Exactly.
seasons when you could plant one thing, and then the soil, you have to go to the soil again to plant for something else. So
Mhm.
you have to be sure of what it is you're planting, because you're going to bear the fruit of those things. So
Sure.
I can understand where you're coming from. And with the cognitive behavioral therapy, and see how that
Mhm.
would work, because sitting down and talking and having to listen to somebody else is, I think, is just a really really good skill that we have
Mm.
to do, and we can learn so much. So for those who might be listening to us now, um, what kind of advice you can give them, because our emotions is critical, how
Mm.
we feel, that
Mm.
plays an important role in our mind health, and even as we talked about, in our emotional health as well. So what advice would you have for them at home, that how can they do that? So what thoughts can you
Okay.
share on
O-
experience for those at home, how they can
o-
practice it?
Okay.
I know we can do journaling, but what else can they do?
Well, you say journaling. I was going to mention that, but how you journal, writing full stop. Okay. A lot of people write notes and write diaries, etc. And people even write poetry. Um,
Mhm.
and you might think, oh, it's secret, it's just for yourself. But I promise
No.
you, most writing, it's, if you like, it's an avenue, it's a desire to branch out, to communicate, to connect with your inner thought as part of that. And I mean, I write poetry and I journal as well as part of that, but also practice gratitude and getting into a routine, particularly in the morning. And this is where we're going into the physical sort of side of things now. I um, I, I can't leave the house or do anything until I've actually done at least 15 minutes of a kind of stretching as part of my normal sort of routine.
Mhm.
Even if I'm going to be late, I will at least do for an appointment, I'll at least do some sort of stretching, and it's a habit that I've actually sort of developed. But part of stretching and moving, it also connects to the mental. And last month was Mental Awareness Week in the UK, and the theme was movement, which I endorse absolutely, totally, because I
Absolutely.
know
Mhm.
what it can do for your mind. It's incredible. And I mentioned sort of gratitude. Part of my routine, I kind of exercise in front of a kind of large kind of French window overlooking, seeing my garden, which is huge and wonderful, lots of things to focus on. And there's loads of things to be grateful. Every single day, I will think of something in the garden that I've not responded to and connected with. And it could just be a color or an ornament, and be grateful for that. And I'm thinking of, or one of the birds flying in the garden and the way they're interacting. I'm grateful for that. And then I think of something yesterday or the day before. What am I
Mm.
grateful for that was good, that was positive, no matter what? And then I think of something that today I would like to be grateful, what I know I'm going to be doing, what I expect. and be grateful for that.
Mhm.
That process, that, if you like, morning ritual, do every single morning, and it's totally a sort of habit. And I would say to people, don't do take small steps in terms of your journey, and don't
Yeah.
do them all at once. Do them a little by little, and often, because the incremental value of doing these small things, they build up. And you mentioned becoming more resilient and stronger as a consequence. So that's probably my sort of biggest tip, I would say, in that respect.
Okay. I love how you talk about doing it in incremental. I always refer to a baby. Look at a
Hmm.
baby, and a baby want to turn or think, well,
Mm.
I should be walking. Everybody's walking. Why am I still on my tummy? Or why am I like this? Because we don't know their thoughts. I'm just imagining now. This is what
Sure,
they're
sure.
thinking. Why am I like that? And then they crib, and then you see they try and they flicker and they flicker and they flicker, and then eventually they turn. And then they're
Mm.
thinking, okay, how am I going to turn back? And they try again. And then the next thing you see, they hold the bar on the crib and they started testing their legs to stand up. They
Mm.
drop back down, but it is incremental. They start building their
Absolutely.
muscles and they're beginning to stand. And now they want to walk, you know what I mean? So if we just take simple things like that, a simple
Mm.
example, and utilize those little things,
Mhm.
they become humongous. Yeah, they
True.
become really big and really um, uh, you become resilient, and it's helping you to take that power, because we all
Mm.
have that power within us. It's innate, and we just need to work with that. So we thought we will go onto the body in terms of nurturing. So we talk about the mind, because the
Mm.
mind affects the body.
Yes,
When
and vice
we
versa. Mm.
Yeah. So talk to me about, I was going to ask a question, but when we talk about the, as it came to me and it said the mind affects the body,
Mm.
talk to me a little bit about that, about how the mind affects the body in healing
Well,
the mind.
okay, it goes back to talking to yourself and visualizing things, and I'm I'm brought back to, I mean, two things. I want to talk about flexibility and what one needs to, the foundation of fitness and being healthy is being flexible and stretching in order to do, if you like, more physical activities that's more, if you like, more perhaps strenuous. But you've got to be flexible. Even walking, for goodness sake, sometimes it makes sense to prepare yourself for that. Prepare yourself mentally in what you say to yourself. And you might think, do you know what? It's raining outside, but you got to talk to yourself. You've got, I know, come rain or shine, I've got a shower-proof wetsuit protection clothing, so I will go for a walk anyway, even though it's raining. That's all part of that, because it's part of my routine, part of my ritual. And my mind, I've planted that seed. I've prepared myself for that already. I know that I need to have my whether I'm working at tracksuit or training shoes or whatever. That's all prepared. So there's no sort of excuse. And I'm not going to do that until, and I'm not going to eat. That's the other thing, until I've actually done that. But I'm looking forward to, and I've planted a seed in my head. We're going to talk about nutrition in a minute. That, I'm really looking forward to actually sort of eating. So all that, is part of the process. Many, many years ago, before videos were invented and we could watch things and learn from it, I had books. I've always had books. I've got hundreds of books, sort of thing, and pictures within it. I didn't know how to hurdle properly. Okay. And I looked it up in a book, and the book had step by step. Each slide was the next movement. I promise you, Werner, no one taught me. I just took on board and put in my head, my mind, those
Mhm.
images. And
Mhm.
to cut a long story short, I taught myself how to hurdle, and gradually, well, I ran for England in terms of 400 hurdles by teaching myself that. Um, before anyone even started coaching me in that respect. So that's how powerful, the mind is, and visualizing something can actually
Yeah.
affect physically.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. It is a powerful thing, because I can say, for me, having gone through, on the subject matter we're speaking about, having gone through those things, and I mean, if I say my age, then people might think, wow, but long ago you couldn't talk about certain things, and there were no
Mm,
coaches. You didn't hear about coaches and counselors and all of those things. So I
mm,
had to teach myself. I have to teach myself using the word of God, how to build my strength up, how to
mm,
build muscles up, how to speak to myself, how to
mm,
renew my mind, because your
mm.
mind, he said, let that mind of Christ be in you. So what's the mind of Christ? Again, and you spoke about it earlier, it's about love, it's about happiness, it's about joy, it's about compassion, it's about
Mm.
forgiveness, and all those things. So all those things, they're like medicine to your
Mm.
body and medicine
Truly.
to your mind. So it really affects the different areas of your life. So when you cultivate, it's about cultivating your garden. You're cultivating your
Yes, that's
garden.
a
So
good
your
way to put it.
mind,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So it's
mm.
about cultivating that. So you talk about exercise, and you talk about how you utilize that to help you to run huddles and things like that. So
Mhm.
when we listen, would you consider listening to our bodies is an important part in terms of our healing?
Oh my goodness me, it really is. And athletes in particular, dancers, people involved in sports, sometimes do not listen to their bodies, never mind an ordinary sort of person, generally speaking. And it's those examples I just gave in terms of people involved in sports and using their bodies, you would think that they would be more in tuned with them,
Mhm.
with their bodies. However, we've also got a habit of pushing ourselves, sometimes too much, too hard. I'm certainly so guilty of this, and not paying attention. And that's where some of the injuries occur as a sort of consequence. But at the same time, I think it's really, really important to recognize that, do you know what? The body is an amazing mechanism, full stop. And
Yeah.
it's just wonderful, extraordinary piece of mechanism that we are. We are truly extraordinary in terms of our ability to actually heal ourselves and what we can put ourselves through. And
Mhm.
one of the things you mentioned, nurturing, and obviously food and what you put into your body is so important, but also what you put into your mind is also important, and you need to avoid some of these sorts of things. And another sort of quick story: everyone has stayed up all night for all sorts of reasons, because they're either excited, or because they've got toothache, or because they're ill, or because they're anxious, or because they're depressed, or whatever, or because
Yeah.
they've just had to stay awake the whole night.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but very few people have stayed awake for, let's say, 48 hours, all right, non-stop. I once stayed awake for 78 hours, okay, and I was actually sort of working. I'll tell you the story another time, but my jaw was wired up. I had an accident, and it was very traumatic. I was hospitalized, and I was wired up for about 12 weeks. But when I came out of hospital, in terms of my mind, I knew that I had to complete a hefty piece of academic work, a 30,000 word dissertation. And I just made up my mind, I'm going to do it, and
Mhm.
worked out how I was going to eat. My wife wasn't with me. She was in the States at the time. And I I could only eat through a straw. So everything was liquidized. And because of my background in nutrition and supplementation and all the rest of it, I knew what things worked together in terms of nurturing my body and keeping me
Mhm.
through those 78 hours non-stop to actually complete this humongous sort of task. And it's probably one of the the most amazing things I've ever done in my life. It's just so incredible. But at the same time, that's a bit of an extreme. For most people, though, it would make sense to, once again, I'll go back to, taking things step by step. You mentioned the baby steps, alluded to a sort of baby as sort of part of that. I'm trying to get back to the nub of your question. Do you want to repeat that again so that I get back on track, because I've gone off. What? This is what I do.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, what type of exercise you do and how does that affect the mind in terms of your recovery and everything
Okay.
like that? Because we're talking about what I was asking you, what type of listening to our bodies and listening to our bodies and how
Right.
what part does listening to our bodies play in our well-being? And this is where you
Okay.
talk about the athletes not listening and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
From the moment you wake up, whilst you're still in bed, I mean, this is where I start. I will actually stretch my sort of toes backwards and forwards as part of, even before I got up, roll my shoulders, etc. Everyone can do that pretty much. Okay. And then I get into my sort of stretching, and I kind of test myself. How am I feeling? How is my hip feeling? How's my knee feeling, sort of thing, in this morning? And I do something called mindful movement meditation. And that is one of my biggest practices. And it is mindfulness in terms of being totally aware of why you're doing a particular activity and knowing that, oh, this is going to be beneficial to me, and being conscious of that in terms of how you're actually feeling and being very conscious how you're feeling through the movement that you're doing. And one of my signature stretches is what, and I'll post it to you and people that's all watching it separately. It's called the body curl. And it's an exercise, it's a stretching exercise that engages your whole body, from your head to your toes, your neck, your shoulders. I developed it for my spine because everything hangs from the spine. Every single thing hangs from the spine, and you've got to look after it. But we don't. When do we ever exercise the spine? We've got amazing hips, okay? The strongest muscles in our bodies are our buttocks and our thighs, etc. And we sit on it most of the time. And our hips, we hardly ever exercise that. So a lot of my stretching exercise is around that. But the body curl engages everything from your fingers, your wrists, your arm, right to your ankles, to your toes, in one sort of movement. And it's I wish I could sort of show it to you, because I can't, as it were, talk about it without, if you like, sort of showing you. But I've got a 3-minute, without demonstrating, I've got a 3-minute video. I don't think I've got enough space for you to actually be able to actually sort of see it. I'm just going to push this back. Maybe you might be able to actually sort of see it, but who knows? No. It'll only take a little while to do this. Just bear with me, folks. I'm never done. This is live, isn't it? So this is what happens. Let me just put it up here. Here's me chatting away, and anyone watching or listening are thinking, "What is he talking about?" So hard to see. I'm just desperately trying to show you. Okay, what it is. Basically, you kind of stretch up, and you go onto your toes, literally your toes, and then you press your knees forward and go down slowly, curl over, and as your head goes down, you come back up, and you do it in a rhythmic way. And I'm on my toes; I can touch the ceiling as I'm doing this. And then you do it more vigorously as you sort of do it. And the video, I'll post a video of it. And I promise you, I call it the body curl. And it is, if I teach anything in terms of movement, that is my number one. That is my signature stretch. Done properly, it's extraordinary. Now, it engages every single part of your body if you're doing it so properly. And
If you're
that
doing it properly.
it just sets you
Right.
up for other things as well as part of the sort of process. And it
So I would like
engages
to
in.
learn that. I would like
Okay,
to
well,
learn that because
in, in, in my,
I go on my rowing machine because it
okay,
engages everything. My
okay.
yeah.
Well,
So and I do the
it's in my
bike.
next podcast. My the podcast I'm doing. Hopefully, it's going to
Yeah.
be out very, very soon. Inner
Okay.
inner and outer health and
Health.
beauty. Called,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
inner and
Great.
outer health and beauty. But definitely,
Hmm.
that there's a 3-minute segment within it where I do demonstrate.
Okay,
My
well,
body.
guys, here you have it, the body curl. So to exercise every movement, and I suppose that will be good for we're talking about taking back your power and reshape, reclaiming your power after illness and abuse and everything like that. But anybody, what we are speaking about here, anybody can do it. So it's for
Mm,
anyone. You don't have to go
absolutely.
through an illness to be able to experience that. Now I know we have a few more minutes. We don't generally like to go long, but we want to give you the full essence of it. So I suppose because we're talking about the mind, body, and the spirit.
Mm,
So when it comes now to, because we talk about the mind, what we say to ourselves and how we're going to renew our mind. We talk about the body, how we're going to nurture the body in terms of exercise, and
mhm.
also how we speak to ourselves as well when
Right.
we're going for exercise. Oh, it's raining outside. I don't think I'm going to go anymore. But it's about
Mm,
equipping ourselves with the right equipment and having those
mm,
things there to
mm,
really help us to build the resilience that we need to go out and not say, I'm not going anymore.
mm.
And about nurturing the body as well. So we're nurturing the body both physically and spiritually, because now we
Yes.
come into that spiritual part of the revitalization. So when we want to, so as we focus on revitalization, how can we connect with ourselves and find that joy, that purpose, joy, that purposeful joy of faith? How can we
Mm.
connect with that? What would you
I
say?
think I think we've touched on it in many different
We
ways.
have, yeah,
Because when I mention gratitude, and part of gratitude is just being thankful
yeah,
for where you are, and in relation to let's say doing something positive. And when I say random acts of kindness, I mean I genuinely mean it randomly, in the sense that I'm not thinking I'm going to help someone, or I'm going to shake someone's hand, or I'm going to make someone's day when I speak with them, but in a way that is part of connecting with your inner self, in terms of how you're expressing yourself, and how you see yourself, how you the Germans have a word called Weltanschauung, which means your world perspective. But bringing that closer to home, you've got to have an internal, if you like, perspective on yourself, not just the world, how you see things, and where you stand on certain issues and certain sort of things. And that is what's going to bolster you. And if you like, your personal integrity, to be integrated, to actually know yourself holistically, is part of being very comfortable with, I suppose, I feel very comfortable in my own skin, all right, in my own
okay.
self. I don't have to, because I'm so old, I'm so long in the tooth. I'm not, I'm not too bothered about what people sort of think or say of me. I know that mentally and kind of spiritually. I mean, I work for a school in Brighton, and this child was being incredibly abusive, special needs sort of school, and the other teachers and the assistants were incredibly, what's the word, embarrassed by this kid
Mhm.
being racist, etc. And the deputy head said to me, I'm so sorry, I can't believe that, you know,
Behavior.
you one, the behavior, but you were exposed to this, and you're such a spiritual
Mhm.
person. And I thought to myself, what is he talking about? And I'd never displayed my spirituality or my sense of whatever, but just by being yourself and how you approach things. And I don't get into gossip. I can't stand being in classroom situations and class, what do you call it? Staff rooms where they're
Yeah.
talking about kids and all the rest of it. It's not for
Mm,
me. And
mm,
it's not because I think I'm superior. I haven't got the headspace and the bandwidth to actually take on those kind of negative things because my mindset and my spirit is very much
mhm.
on the
Aligned.
positive side
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
And that's how I
Yeah.
sort of see things. And therefore, yeah, it's how I live. And that you need to
Yeah.
know yourself as part of that and be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, so great, great. We have gone over a bit, but it's worth it. So it's all about is by repetition,
Mhm.
repetition. When we have that repetition, we keep hearing and hearing and hearing. It's
Mhm.
starting to sink in. You have to do it again and again and again and again. The
Mm.
routine. So you keep
Yeah.
hearing it. It become in your muscles, everything within you now
Yeah.
begin to take
Almost like
that
a
on.
habit,
You understand?
instinctive. Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
instinctive. So
Mm.
it takes that on. So I just want to say thank you, for being here and for sharing with my
Mm.
guests.
No,
Um,
thank you. I'm
you know,
grateful for
uh,
the opportunity.
yeah. So I want to thank you for being here and sharing with my guests about how we can heal the mind, nurture our body, and
Mhm.
revitalize our spirit. So it's what we put inside of us. We have
Mm.
to, it's like eating food. You have your
Mm.
spiritual food, you have your nurturing, your physical food, and you have
Mm.
your mind food. So
Mm.
everything you can see, you have to feed. Just as you will eat food with the right nutrients to help your body to heal,
Mhm.
as Joel says, when he was sick in hospital and he had to, his wife was not there and he had to find a way to feed himself, but at the same time do his dissertation and
Mhm.
had to stay up 78 hours so he could complete his dissertation. That takes hard work and it takes nurturing, and it also takes a mindset. So we
Mm.
can see mindset have a lot to do with everything that we do, even when we go through trauma, even when we're healing
Mm.
from trauma. We have to do that. We have to go through, we have to train our mind, train our body, and that's how we're going to build resilience. So as I said before, my program, Unstoppable Resilience, 3 powerful practices to take your power back. Everything that we spoke about today, the who, the what, the why, the when, journaling, everything. These are things that you have got to do. You have to do the work. It takes
Mm.
work. You have to do the work to really get the results that you're looking for. So if you have any questions at all, please connect with me. If you want to speak to Joel, please connect with us, and then we can connect back with you. So I want to say thank you, and have a great evening and enjoy whatever you're going to be doing. So Joel, I don't know if you have any last words that you want to say, that and then we can.
No, not really. I think I prepared dinner earlier on because I cook. I'm the one that cooks mainly in our family, and the joy of just preparing a stir fry, and I will add to it. And I would say to people, and this is a huge principle for me: eat the rainbow. And if there's not sufficient colors, I will add to it. And I'm really looking forward to that. So once again, thank you, Verna, and thanks everyone for being online. Okay, bye for now.
Yes. Okay. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. And just remember, to take this challenge, to look after yourself. Nurture your mind. Nurture your mind in order to heal it, nurture your body in terms of building that resilience and revitalize your spirit. It's just so, 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 so key to recovering from any illness, recovering from any type of trauma. All those things makes a big difference. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session, because Joel will be here next week again to talk to us on a different subject. But I just want to say all power and strength to you as you take your strength back, as you connect with your body, your mind, and your spirit in a positive manner to take on to reclaim your power and your strength. So take
Mhm.
care, everybody. God bless, and we see you soon.
Bye all.
Bye.